Z06 Pricing? Is that why you want to pull that?
I have some random news things pulled up, and we have.
I also want to make everybody very depressed.
Oh, good.
I want to inform people how little control they have over their own emotions and actions.
I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. What up, folks? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Freedom Grooming. You know what I like about Freedom Grooming? Everything. Whether you're shaving your face or your head, the Flex Series electric razor is for you. It's uniquely designed to flex and contour to the curve of your face and head for a smoother, faster, and safer shave without the risk of nicks, cuts, irritation, or ingrown hairs. Freedom Grooming's products work anywhere on the body. They are targeted to the bald community. That's right, the bald and balding people. I recommend shaving your head. If you're starting to go bald, commit, dude. Aerodynamic, it's smooth, it's low maintenance, it's great. You can use soap on your head. You don't need shampoo or conditioner anymore. Body wash for everything. Being bald rules, and Freedom Grooming knows it. They're proudly supporting the hair-free customers and their journey to baldhood. Baldhood is actually written here. It's awesome. Get the smoothest shave of your life with the flexible blades contouring to the shape of your head for a baby smooth shave every time. The Flex Series electric shaver can cover 50% more hair in a single stroke compared to traditional razors. Expect shave times of 2 to 3 minutes for your whole head. You'll never cut yourself shaving again because the Flex Series safeguard technology means no nicks, no ingrown hairs, and no problems. Plus, it's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower with or without shaving cream, wet or dry. I love it. So stop deli slicing your scalp with traditional razors. Try Freedom today or get it as a gift with your exclusive 20% off coupon by going to freedomgrooming.com/tire. That's freedomgrooming.com/tire. Delightful. I have been using it on my head, and it is an excellent, excellent product. I have not cut myself. Really like the Freedom Grooming stuff. It curves. Your head is curved. Mm-hmm. Why would you use a straight thing on a curved head? Just saying. We're also brought to you today in part by HelloFresh. Farm-free, pre-portioned ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip those trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. You can choose for up to 55 weekly options with pre-portioned high-quality ingredients picked at peak ripeness. HelloFresh will deliver fresh quality produce from the farm to your door in less than a week so you can savor the flavors right at home. Skip the grocery store, spend more time soaking up that summer sun. HelloFresh is a one-stop shop for all of your mealtime needs with quick breakfast, lunches, snacks, desserts, and more. If you're going away this summer, update your delivery address. Have it brought to you where you are. Enjoy it at your vacation destination with just a click, or pause the plan, wait till you get home, restart it when you get home. It's foolproof. The recipes are step-by-step, very easy to read. Those cards, those big color photograph recipe cards, nice big fonts. You don't have to go flipping through books or anything. Just throw that card out on the table. Boom. Meals will be ready in 30 minutes. This says 30 minutes or less. In my experience, it's 30 minutes or so. We're not splitting hairs here. I'm not saying that they're not honest. It's probably 30 minutes. Once you have all the ingredients laid out on the table and the oven or whatever is like already warm, it's probably 30 minutes from that point. But the point is, when I'm cooking from scratch at home, it's probably an hour. If I have to go to the grocery store, now we're talking an hour and a half, right? So it's much, much faster than your standard go to the grocery store and start a meal from scratch type of thing. The food is very tasty. It's great. I've kept a bunch of those recipe cards like I talked about to make them in quantity for people. Like if I'm having a party, like HelloFresh, I get the meals for 2, right? For me and my wife. But I could easily multiply that recipe by 4 or 6 if I was having a big party. Some of these dishes would really scale nicely. So go to HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire16 and use code SmokingTire16 for 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. A lot of words in there. HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire16. That's how they know you came from us. Code SmokingTire16. That's how you save the money. 16 free meals and 3 free gifts is what you get. HelloFresh.com/SmokingTire16. Code SmokingTire16. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. Also brought to you in part today by our official ticket fighting sponsor. Off the Record is here. You get pulled over, you plead guilty. Here's what happens. You get fines. Your insurance company finds out. Your insurance goes up. You keep paying for that ticket over and over every time you get an insurance bill. It stinks. The process is awful, and it's not designed to keep you safe. It's designed to keep you economically shackled to the insurance company, the police, and the court system. Don't plead guilty, folks. Get Off the Record. Download the app. Have it ready on your phone. Use code TST10 on that Off the Record app, or go to offtherecord.com/TST the very second you get a ticket. And all you have to do is take a photo of the ticket. It uploads it to Off the Record. Off the Record matches you with an attorney in your area. They cover 97% of the drivers in the U.S. The attorney's qualified. They're going to fight that ticket. And if they don't get those points off your record, you don't pay. It's a money-back guarantee. Get those points off your record. Don't pay the court. Don't pay insurance companies more than you have to. It's all a scam, and you don't need to be involved in it. Offtherecord.com/TST or code TST10 on the Off the Record app. Save you 10% on any of Off the Record's already affordable legal services. What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. It's Monday morning. It's... Man, what did I even do this weekend? This weekend was interesting. Went to Malibu with the wife, and I've been riding motorcycles to Bill's on Sunday to not deal with. We talked about that in the last show. The strategy
more
for
convenient
dealing
in every way.
Right, motors. They don't the security guards. They just wave the motorcycles right in.
Yeah, you're not
Sports
the problem.
cars. You are a problem. Motorcycles, not a problem. Also EVs. So I went with the wife. Wife doesn't like to ride on the back of motorcycles. I don't blame her. I don't really like riding with passengers anyway. It kind of sucks. Mm-hmm. So we took the Ford, right? To go use the charger.
Mustang, yep.
Yep. Went 1 for 2 on chargers. First plug, no bueno. Second plug, no problemo.
Like no signal, no problemo?
The first plug was just charge error communicating, and then the second, each unit has 2,
right?
So I tried number 1, fail, number 2,
right,
success.
I mean, if your batting average was 50% in baseball, you'd be a rock star.
Right. If your batting average is fueling a vehicle as 50%,
if it's landing
terrible.
planes successfully,
it's horrible.
Not as good. Somewhere in the middle.
Fortunately, I didn't have to move to a different charger. I hate that when you have to get back in the car and move to a different charger. Fortunately, it was just unplug one and then plug in the other one. And I've got that the plug and charge thing now installed, which is one of those things that's like everyone on Twitter's like, they should just do that. Well, they've done it. Ford has done it. I don't know who else has done it. I haven't researched it extensively.
And that's where you just plug it in and it starts charging because it's connected to your account and all that other stuff.
It's
right?
where you use the app on your phone, you load your credit card into the app, and at Electrify America, EV Go and EV Connect, you just plug into the car, you don't do anything else, and it just starts charging. No credit card readers, no RFID tags, no pulling up the app and hitting start. You just plug and go. So when it worked, it worked. So that was good. But when we arrived at Malibu, the lot was open at 8:30 a.m. There were sheriffs there. Well, that's what I thought. That's why I went to the charger anyway.
You see a big net above it.
That's why with 80% charge, I still went to the charger, even though in case it was a trap. parts of the lot were still blocked off. The part in front of Bill's was still blocked off because that's one landlord. The part closest to PCH by the bridge, that first part, blocked off. But the main lot was not blocked off.
Okay.
And the security guards, it seemed, I was like, what's going on? It seems there has been a partial surrender. Or at least a truce or a stalemate.
Compromise.
Some
Let's say
kind.
compromise.
Now, it seems like they opened, like there's been a partial surrender, so like cars were coming in. Like people didn't really know. Everyone was kind of like hesitant, and we were watching, but it was like mellow. It was fine. You know, eventually some like straight pipe Lambos showed up, and I should mute my computer. Apologies. And a Tesla Plaid with no license plates and a fraudulent carpool lane access sticker was pulled over and ticketed in the lot. So I do not recommend going there at all unless your car, at least on the surface, like is legal. I wouldn't go there with limo tints. I wouldn't go there with straight pipes. I certainly wouldn't go there with no plates on the car.
Wow.
You're going to get a ticket. And I would not go there with fraudulent carpool lane access.
When did they stop issuing those
Like
stickers?
2017.
Yeah.
This car's a 2022 fucking model year car with a carpool lane access sticker on it. Like, that's straight fraud, homie.
Yeah. Wow.
And
Sometimes the police do a good
And I
thing.
saw the car maneuvering, and I pointed out to my wife, I was like, watch this guy's hands, because he's fucking maneuvering with this dumb yoke. And she's like, what is he doing with his hands? And I was like, he's trying to maneuver
He's trying
a
to
car
find his steering
with
wheel.
half a steering wheel. And then 12 seconds later, whoop, whoop, and they fucking pull. There was nowhere to pull over. He was in the middle of the parking lot.
I mean, did the cop even have to move his vehicle, or he just hit the siren
The
button
cop
on
just
the
came
motorcycle?
around from the other side.
Wow.
It was so funny.
They spotted from across the lot. They're like, that's not okay.
Yeah. You can't drive with no plates anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, that the law was, they caught on. The law changed. Like, you could get away with that for a long time. You can't anymore.
And then they did the while you're in there, and the cop went, oh, you also have a fraudulent HOV lane sticker.
Fraudulent carpool
Assholes.
access sticker. So
When
funny.
if they'll start writing tickets for Montana plates there, if they keep seeing the same cars.
If they keep seeing the same car, I mean,
That would be
they
interesting.
could. Yeah, I mean, if you're in California, you're supposed to register your cars in California, and so if they keep seeing the same cars over and over, they could. You know, they definitely could. So, but it seems like there's a partial truce of some kind going on up there.
That's good.
We'll keep people updated.
And, you know, it just seems like something that can be worked out if all the sides have a similar agenda or goal.
Yeah,
You know.
fucking let people show up at 7 and
Right.
have coffee, and they'll probably leave by 10. It's not that interesting that you're going to spend 6 hours there. But if you block it off until 10, then they're going to be there till 12, and now your shoppers are
But
annoying.
it does seem like it's gotten so popular that there's like this constant ingress egress, like it fills and then you see people circling.
Yeah, it flows.
So I think it's like you'd have to have a hard end time announced and everyone knows about it, which would probably take like a month to really permeate through the community.
There's
and
also
then be like,
like
get out of here at 10.
There's also more official events now. Like Malibu Cars and Coffee, like the actual one is back on. Like Paradise Cove is on. Like there's this other one up in Westlake somewhere that I'm blanking on the name of it.
Supercar one at the mall we used to go to?
No, it's a different one. It's called. Hang on, I'll find it. It's
Well, there's more games in town, which is
there's just more. There's more to do. It's called. What is this thing called? Oh, there is a Supercar Sunday. Yes, there's Supercar Sunday. Piazza Gran Turismo, that's one. What's this one?
the Grand Touring Plaza.
Yeah, right. They all got fucking names. County Line Cars and Coffee. That one is at second Saturday of the month at the shops at Westlake in Westlake Village. I may have to check that one out soon.
Okay.
That one seems like it seems pretty mellow. But so but It was weird. I had to explain what was going on to like a whole bunch of people up there. They were like, I don't get it. I'm so confused. I'm here from out of town. I thought this was...
I came to get a sweater.
And then they were all like, what did you bring? I was like, I don't bring cars here anymore. I come to eat the bagels. Like, I'm over bringing a car here. They were so disappointed.
Tell me about a Mustang.
Yeah, right. Let's see. So that's that. Cross it off my list. I have a list of things to talk about today. I was talking to Donnie yesterday, and I read the new issue of Haggerty magazine. Aaron Robinson, our pal, did a great story on the Countach. He drove all 3 generations of Countach.
Ooh.
There's more than 3 really. There's really like 5 generations of Countach, but he drove the three majors. The 400 Periscopo, the QV like I've got, and then the Anniversary. And there's this guy who owns all 3 of these things, and he's got like a Countach shop somewhere in the Midwest. Fort Collins, Colorado. Gentleman's name is Victor Holtorf, and he seems like he knows a lot about Countach.
I would hope so.
He really does. And you know, Donnie's got mine right now to fix the window. But then he did a while you're in there, because the alarm, the fucking shit pile aftermarket alarm that was installed probably in 1992 was causing the fucking thing to go haywire. You can't start it. It's an immobilizer. So if the fucking alarm's going off, it won't start. So he's trying to get rid of that. But then I'm reading this article, and it's a great article. It's probably like 12 pages. And Aaron talks about, let's see, really towards the end of the article. Again, the QV chassis has a certain grace to its movements, even if the steering is much heavier than the earlier cars owing to the fatter front tires. Holtorf explained that the suspension doesn't use conventional rubber bushings, but racing-type uniball and Heim joints with plastic inserts to reduce friction. Over time, these wear out and impart a rattly looseness to the ride and handling that many drivers mistake for bad or antiquated engineering. I think I have started to feel that.
Oh shit!
I think just like the Ferrari, that the Lambo. And I talked to Donnie about that, and I was like, look, maybe you just finish the Ferrari, don't get distracted with the Lamborghini, give me the Ferrari back so I can enjoy it, and then we go to town on the red car. Because the red car, we're actually going to have to pull the engine out, because even I got it in 2018 with a major service that had been done. But they didn't do like a great job. Like it leaked oil. It's leaked oil every day since then. Like it's not like a ton, but like there's drips under the car.
But are they known for that? Like genuine
Not
question.
when the fucking engine gets rebuilt, and there should have all new gaskets and seals.
Okay. I mean, because sometimes there's just like a manufacturing error.
No.
Error
Well, the manufacturing error was the valves, and it's had the $50,000 valve job. It had that, but it's always leaked oil, and it shouldn't have. And it's been 4 years. I've done about 8,500 kilometers on it since I bought it, and I've been waiting to Donnie's a couple times been like, can we pull the fucking engine out? This thing's leaking oil over my floor. And he'll give me a good price on it. He won't rake me over the coals like some other places would. But he's like, I just know that when I did what he's like, I just know I'm gonna find cut corners in this fucking car.
You're gonna find more stuff.
And he's like, we should probably unfuck it. He's like, are you committed to the car? Is this a kind of a keeper car for you? I'm like, yes. And he's like, well then, we should probably unfuck it. So like while it's up there, and by the way, he pulled apart the door, and the cable that opens the window was totally snapped. So
he's like Morgan Freeman in Seven, where he goes to one crime scene and he goes, something bigger is going on here. And there's 7 chapters to this maintenance. Yeah.
So, but the next paragraph in the article, right? Here's the next paragraph in the article, which is where it gets fucking scary. Which is why owners who take their car in for something minor are so often presented with unexpectedly gonzo repair estimates. If the mechanic is willing to do the whole job, many aren't or can't. He'll walk the owner under the car and demonstrate how the sloppy joints clank and twist as the wheels are tugged. From there, the bills rain down like hellfire.
This is great.
Worn joints plus fat, sticky tires, usually past their replacement dates, cause lousy handling in poorly maintained cars, which is most cars. As do incorrect aftermarket shocks, worn, weakened coil springs, and other changes. Stock is always best, according to Victor Holthoff.
Stock in perfect condition or new condition.
I mean, yeah, you got to maintain the car like it's supposed to be maintained. And so now that this car is worth, a lot more than I paid for it, I've really spent very little money maintaining it. I mean, I haven't cheaped out, but it's just needed oil changes. I haven't done anything but put tires on it and change the fucking oil since I got it.
Now if it's time, it's more acceptable.
Yeah. I had to pay Donnie to fix the distributor, the electric. So that stemmed from an oil leak. Oil had seeped in through the seal into the distributor and gunked up the distributor, which is why it took a shit. As Donnie repeatedly demonstrates, this shit cascades.
Right, of course. A problem somewhere will eventually trickle to other places.
Yeah.
So if he did engine out, would he do engine out, major engine service, plus all the bushings?
Plus all the suspension. So it's basically what...
That's what you did in the Ferrari.
Well, yeah, and it's basically, except the engine doesn't have to come out in the Ferrari.
Oh.
But, and getting the engine out, it's very, very few people have the hoist because the engine and trans come out together through the top.
Oh, man.
Very few people have the hoist for that. Donnie has the hoist. Why? Because he's at an airport, and it's an airplane hoist that you use.
No shit. Yeah. Whoa.
So he's like, no problem. I got a fucking hoist.
Wow.
So it's actually what Harry Metcalf is in the middle of right now. I'm going to watch his video later today. His Countach is a complete engine, trans, and suspension rebuild. I'm hoping we don't have to rebuild. I don't, but he wants to replace all the seals and clean everything like it's supposed to be fucking cleaned.
Dude, we have to take many photos when the engine's out.
Yeah, and because when it gets leaky, now everything's messy.
Right.
So,
And when it's clean, if it leaks from somewhere, you know where it's leaking from, which is helpful.
Bad news, it's going to be expensive. Good news, knowing Donnie's work schedule, I'll have a year to pay for it.
Yeah, very true. You have a payment plan with him that's not intentional.
Yeah, but if I have a fresh Ferrari to drive in the interim, it's okay.
Right, that's your holdover.
Okay.
That's your loaner.
The interim car. This is a long play. It's a long play on this one, and
I understand. Totally.
It kind of needs doing. The major service it had before I bought the car, they didn't touch the suspension. For all I know, the suspension is completely original and stock.
Right.
And as we've just seen, and the video, we haven't put the video on the YouTube channel. We have visual aids from Donnie's. What happens to 30-year-old Italian bushings?
Oh my God.
They're fucked.
Really?
They're super fucked.
They were like frozen on, but also falling apart, which is an interesting combination. Yeah. Like they're flimsy, but also solid.
Yeah. So anyway, that's when I read this article, I was like, ooh, boy, does that sound familiar.
That was an expensive read. It was a costly magazine. This magazine was $4.99 plus whatever.
At least they sent me 2 copies. And I do like the magazine. It is a nice thing. Should we talk about Hyundai's concept car?
Yeah.
The Envision 74. Not a good name for a car. That's not. But it fucking took over my Instagram last week. Completely took over my Instagram, and I understand why. Do you know why it took over Instagram? It's Giugiaro. It's not literally Giugiaro, but if you did a highlight reel and like retro futured every successful Giorgetto Giugiaro car, like this is what you'd have.
Yeah.
If you put together like the DeLorean,
there's a lot of DeLorean in it.
The Isuzu Impulse, the Lancias of that period, the Lancia Beta, the Lancia 037. If you threw in a little bit of first-gen Toyota Celica Supra.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, especially the back 3/4.
Yeah. So, like, if you retro futured all that, you would end up with this car. Like it is some Nissan 300ZX, from that period, and it really has a lot of the highlights of what people find appealing about Giorgetto Giugiaro designs.
Absolutely. And it looks like part movie car, part race car.
Yeah.
I mean, the profile, it's like, I don't know, DeLorean plus WRC a little bit. The side intakes are very cool.
Well, look, works, right? Box flares work.
Right.
That long hood, short deck works. The relatively simple design, but with a kind of squinty mouth, like a DeLorean or like a Lancia Delta, or a Isuzu Impulse, like
small
that
frontal
works.
area.
Yeah,
which is harder to find these days because of crash standards. So that's also why it looks so sexy.
Right.
And then this big ass aggressive wing on it.
But you can there's so many DeLorean elements in that, like the black line running horizontally through the middle. If you overlaid that with a silhouette of a DeLorean, it's pretty close.
The greenhouse is a little taller, which I actually like. And then these side intakes remind me of the Renault R5 Turbo.
Yes, Renault R5 or really any of those '80s Group B where they turned a hatchback into a mid-engine car. It's like that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah,
but it and then didn't they release another concept but
this one was like so good no one gave a shit about the other one.
Yeah,
this was to make
rad.
up for that new Ioniq 6 that they just launched that looks like a sad fish. You know that one? The Ioniq 6? Ioniq has a Q in it. Zachary?
Well, it doesn't when you're typing quickly.
Just go to the images. It looks like a droopy fish.
Oh, yeah. It's like an EQS.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with a stranger face.
Yeah, and the rear, it has this weird kind of double-decker wing on the back that's like not great. That's
a curious thing.
Well, look, it's aerodynamic. You know what I mean? That's I understand why all cars are going to kind of look like this or crossovers.
Yeah.
But it's such a to go back to the other concept. That is, I don't know if it's aerodynamic. I don't know if the styling works. I don't know if it'll meet crash standards.
Right.
But that looks like someone took a car from the '80s and built like a Gattabille car out of it.
Yeah, it does. And what's funny about design study is it doesn't matter if it fits crash standards and all these other things. It just needs to inspire, advertise the brand, get people stoked on it, and then they may make something that is inspired by this and has some of the elements of it. Like, we don't know if it'll become a car or not. I mean, coupes are harder and harder to find, but Hyundai is kicking ass and taking names with design and building cool stuff.
Ioniq 5 looks awesome, and there's certainly elements of Ioniq 5, especially in the nose, the lights. It's an incredibly successful concept, but I was thinking about, just over the weekend, like, why is it a successful concept? I was like, oh yeah, it's successful because it looks like Giorgetto Giugiaro did it. Mm-hmm. And like everything he did looked awesome.
Yeah, it looks like an '80s, like a tough '80s coupe. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like it.
Yeah.
But it was, man, did it blow up my fucking Instagram over
everywhere.
the weekend. Yeah. Had dinner last night with Professor Missy Cummings.
Oh, cool.
She was in town for a thing. I promised her that I wouldn't talk about anything we talked about at dinner was off the record, but we had an interesting chat about stuff. She's got this advisory position at NHTSA now.
Right.
Basically, do you remember those incredibly shameful congressional hearings where senators tried to ask Mark Zuckerberg about Facebook? And remember how embarrassing it was that these octogenarians just didn't fucking know shit, and they so obviously had their interns write them a couple of questions.
Yes.
But then when Zuckerberg ducked the question, they had no follow-up because they didn't understand what they were even asking. It's her job to make NHTSA not be those octogenarians.
Oh, okay.
Teach the government how to talk about
Traffic
EVs
safety,
and
EVs,
safety and what the manufacturers mean when they say this and what they say when they mean this.
She's the translator between the legislative body and the OEMs.
Right. So let's just say she's one of the good ones, and we should all be happy that she has this gig right
now.
I
mean, for anyone who has not listened to that show with her, that was amazing.
Right.
I mean, she was fighter pilot. I think the first female F-18 fighter pilot, and then she went and ran the robotics division of Duke University, professor there. She knows all about flight, complexity, programming, automation, all that stuff. And it was such a cool discussion about why building autonomous cars is so challenging, even though, yes, everyone throws around like, but we can build rocket ships and planes. Like, that's not hard. It's like, she said, like, it's harder to build an AV than it is to build a plane.
And she can't be on the show right now because of her government job. That's like, they're mutually exclusive. But when her government job is over in 6 more months, because it's a temporary job, it always was always going to be, she said she'll come back on the show. And we had a very interesting conversation about drone warfare. And I'm not going to say it here because I said I wouldn't, but also because I want to have it again with her in person, because she made me think about a lot of things that I wouldn't normally have thought about with drone warfare. And so super interesting. So anyway, I took the Ford down to Garden Grove because she was
my favorite Sublime song.
Right. I took the Ford down to Garden. I took this trip to Garden Grove. Yeah. Smelled
Couldn't
like Blue
charge
Dog.
it at EV Go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This fucking charger system.
My BlueCruise is not working. The Mach-E still not working. There's no OTA update. It's still doing the thing where every 15 seconds it prompts me to put my hands on the wheel.
Well, what was funny about this whole thing is, like, we went to Colorado and we drove the Lightning, and then you drove something else, and you're like, it's like 2 Ford products that had, and the BlueCruise was operating differently than your car. And you're like, how come in this car it does this, but in this other one, in my car it does this? And like, that's not supposed to happen.
Right. So the Lightning, I was able to use BlueCruise for 20 minutes without intervening. No hands were rested on my knees. At one point, because I have a column coming out in Road and Track about what are hands-free systems good for, if not to text and drive, because that's the unsaid part of all this, is that's really what I think they're for. And they won't tell you that because they can't tell you that. And I don't know when that column is coming out, but I turned it in last week. But 20 minutes hands-free in the Lightning on freeways, right? And it worked pretty well. It was pretty good. And I used BlueCruise also with the Cadillac Escalade in New York to test it. But then I came home and I activated for the first time ever BlueCruise in my Mach-E. And it didn't work the same. And I was like, well, the Lightning is a 2022 or 2023. Is it 23? The Lightning? I don't know if it's 22 or 23.
I don't know.
But either way, my Mach-E was a 20 sold as a 21 in 21, right? And it just made me keep my hands on the wheel the whole time, really. Every 10 seconds it would say put your hands on the wheel. And it had a little torque sensor. So you could just kind of like tug the wheel for like a quarter second and the warning would go away. 10 seconds later it would come back on. So I asked Mike Levine at Ford, like, why does mine do this and this to this? He's like, because yours is broken. It's like, yours isn't working. And it continues to not work, which is kind of frustrating because I keep trying to use it on all these different highways, not like because I need it, but like I just wanted to see if it fixes itself, or maybe if it learns enough. I don't know, but it doesn't. It's not working.
So it's a hardware or software issue.
If I took a guess, I would guess that my driver monitoring camera is not working, because that is the thing that it tells you to do is what it would tell you to do if the camera couldn't see you or you were playing with your phone or that kind of thing. It's not telling me to take over because it can't figure out the lines. It's like straight road, clear lines, clear day. It's almost like it can't see me.
Yeah, you might have a bad sensor.
Yeah.
That'd be nice if it was an easy fix like that.
So the Mach-E, I'm developing quite a long list of software things that have gone wrong, and some hardware things. It's fortunate that nothing has ever left me stranded.
Yeah.
Like it's never refused to start or drive or anything like that.
Right. I mean, the first day you had it, the whole screen blanked out, right? But
that didn't stop it from driving.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, when you're an early adopter, and my car I think is in the first 500 cars built. It's very, very low VIN for Mach-E. I mean, this is
why, like, most of the time we tell people to not buy a car the first year it comes out.
Yeah.
The first year a new idea is rolled out of the factory, like, there's going to be some issues.
Yeah. I'm going to call the dealer later today and see if that's something that I don't know.
If they've heard of. Get a new sensor.
Yeah, they have no idea how to work on these cars.
Well, they don't have enough techs, right?
Well, yeah. Well, one thing I did talk about that has nothing to do with anything with what I talked about with Missy last night was because she had no Mach-E experience, so she was asking me to show her in the car, and she was like, "What's the difference between this and like a Tesla?" And I was like, "Well, this is built well." Like it's screwed together tight, like, it feels like a really high quality product, but the software is a little and the dealers don't have the first clue how to work on any of them, whereas Teslas are built like absolute dog shit, but their software works pretty good, excluding full self-driving, but the UI software works pretty good, and if you bring one to a Tesla service station, they probably have somebody there that knows how to work on it.
Yeah.
Whereas Ford techs are like, no, we don't know what is going on.
That's the first one they've seen.
Yeah.
Did she know about the differences between like the driver monitoring system styles and the radar cruise styles between them? Okay.
Yeah. And when I was like, yeah, my BlueCruise isn't working. She's like, really? Show me. And so we went out on the highway and I showed her. She's like, yeah, that's not working. That's not supposed to be doing that.
That's all right.
Cool. Confirmed.
Has she, as part of her job, like had to test every different version?
She's used
out
them
there?
all. Yeah, she's used them all.
That's cool. I know. Well, we'll talk to her more about that when she comes in. That'll be really awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Z06 pricing, is that why you want to pull that?
I have some random news things pulled up, and then we have.
I also want to make everybody very depressed.
Oh, good.
I want to inform people how little control they have over their own emotions and actions.
I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. We can do Z06 first.
What does that say?
Oh, God. This is our social media report.
Yeah, okay. Basically, some people were surprised that the Z06 is going to cost over $100,000.
Why?
I don't know. I
saw the pricing,
Chevy,
I thought I was like, wow, that's cheap.
So basically,
people who were surprised that a Z06 costs over $100,000 have no idea what the real world transaction prices are for regular C8s.
I think that's right. Like, so this one's going to start at $106,000, and then you can add packages, 2LT, all those different things, up to, it says $127,000.
I think is high. I think you can get this thing up to about $150,000-$160,000.
I think you're right.
If you get everything.
If you get carbon wheels,
10
Gs on top. So there's a lot of stuff. But 100 to 150.
By the way, visible carbon wheels for 11 Gs is cheap. Right, I'm sorry, it's a lot of money, but for what you're getting, it's cheap. And this car, even fully loaded, is about a third of the price of a Ferrari 488 or F8.
Yeah,
a third. And oh, by the way, it's not. It's got a bunch of things that car doesn't have.
Yeah,
straight up.
And we know from the regular one, it handles great.
Yeah,
it rides great.
Yeah,
everything works well. It's comfortable. It'll sound awesome. I mean, you're getting so much fucking car. I think people are upset because when the C8 first came out, there were either rumors or Chevy hinted that it would cost under $100 for Z06s, but.
Yeah,
it's so much car. Like once they said we're developing our own flat plane crank engine, that you should not have assumed that anymore.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be.
The previous Z06 engines were like much closer to the LT4 that came in the regular C7,
right.
So it wasn't as big a jump. I mean, this is a lot of development went into that flat plane crank engine.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I think it's still a great value, and I thought it would be more. I thought it would start at like 120, honestly, and I think they would get it with the number of pre-orders. With the number, I feel like they could have started at 120 and they'd still get it.
I'm glad they didn't. I mean, that's a ton of car for, whatever, 110 to 150.
Yeah.
There's, I don't know, not a lot in that market competing with it.
It's good. It's benchmarked the 458 Special, which as of last checking is trading hands at $400,000, and it's a 7-year-old car.
Jeez.
So, I'm not shocked. I think it's going to be a lot of car for the money. I think it's going to be a lot of car, period.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to drive great. In the history of Corvettes, would I have ever considered a Z06 convertible? No. But now, would I? Yes.
'Cause it's Spider.
Because it's awesome.
Yeah.
The Corvette convertible was great.
And we saw, I think it was a Z06 at SEMA. They had the design buck or whatever out there, and it looked better than the regular C8. It just the way the fenders flared out, it all just looked better, and it seemed like they may have designed the Z06 first and then trimmed it all down for the regular C8.
Yeah.
Do you have a custom Mario?
I heard the doorbell. I have a UPS person, but Adam is on it downstairs. It's a big box. Don't know what it is, but it's a big old box.
And then someone, I want to get their name because it was a patron. Dave Kenwood. Heard our last podcast talking about what happened with speeding and driver safety and whatnot during the COVID lockdown of 2020, and so there were some studies.
Some states
done.
and car brands have better drivers than others. Okay, let's see. I haven't read this yet, but let's see who's got. Is from.
It's broken into bullet points.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thankfully.
Shout out to the brand with the safest drivers, Volvo. Shocking. Yeah. Absolutely shocking.
Study was done by Insurify and Quote Wizard, just online shopping tools.
Ram truck drivers have the largest percentage of at-fault accidents in 2022, followed closely by Subaru.
Remember
Volkswagen, Mazda, and Hyundai round out the top
Vinny
5.
found that info that was the vehicle used for DUIs the most was Ram trucks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're not talking about the whole vehicle line. Certain models tend to drag down the brand. WRX drivers have a far worse record than Outback or Ascent drivers. Shocking. Troublesome models include the Ram 3500, Volkswagen Atlas, Mazda 2, and Hyundai Elantra Coupe.
I was not expecting the Atlas to be in there.
Strong correlation between auto brands with drivers who speed and those with higher numbers of accidents. In other words, brands with heavy-footed drivers are more likely to have higher percentages of at-fault accidents. Bakersfield, California, population shy of 400,000 as of 2020, was the worst in the study. Worst DUI ranking in the study. Bakersfield beats Sacramento for the bottom spot in the study. The 5 worst driving cities had the high number of DUIs. Bakersfield is not surprising to me at all. It's very depressing.
Yeah.
It's straight, flat roads. It's the kind of place where you go, I could get home.
Yeah. Just keep between the whites, man.
Minimal public transit. Minimal options for Uber, Lyft, taxis, and pretty low income. It's not a wealthy place, so people would probably drive their own car drunk rather than pay for a taxi or something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, drunk driving is bad, but I understand why Bakersfield and Sacramento would be easy one.
Most of the top 10 worst cities were in California, with Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Jacksonville, Florida, and Salt Lake City, Utah, rounding it out. Was not expecting Salt Lake City, Utah.
A place with very limited, turns out, prohibition of high alcohol content beer.
They're just not used to it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, they're lightweights in Salt Lake, as it turns out. Cities with the best drivers include Louisville, Kentucky, Hartford, Connecticut, and Little Rock, Arkansas. Hartford, Connecticut is like, is it Hartford or New Haven? I think it's Hartford is like the insurance capital of the world.
Oh, so
a lot of insurance companies from that part of there. How interesting! In Louisville, they drive safe because they're all towing a horse. They've all got a horse on board in Louisville.
Let me see. Oh, they had a list.
Yeah, no, I can't say I'm surprised. California has a terrible public transit. I mean, California is obviously, if you know your geography, is the size of like 7 other states put together at least. And so generalizing California, it's a very purple place politically, and there's huge disparities in terms of the density of certain places and the kind of openness of other places.
Well, the population of California is 39 million.
Yeah.
So the most people, the second place is Texas, which has 11 million fewer.
Yeah.
That's a huge jump.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a lot more, more people, more probability.
Yeah.
And these are some of the other statistics
traffic
out of this.
fatalities rose over 20. Oh wait, hang on. 2020 compared to 2019. Wait, how do we? Speeding related crashes were up in 2020 compared to 19, 11%. Rural, local collector roads up 11%. Nighttime up 11%. Non-Hispanic black people up 23%.
And this was NHTSA's study. Now I switched to NHTSA's study from the insurance one. Just want to clarify that. Occupant ejection is up 20%.
Oh, it's people not wearing their seatbelts.
It seems like, this is just me
unrestrained
reading the tea leaves,
occupants
but
up 15%.
2020 people went faster. And
wore
people
their
just sent it
seatbelts
harder.
Yeah, people wore their seatbelts less.
Yeah. Rollover crashes were up. Alcohol-involved crashes were up. Unrestrained.
2020 people definitely fucking sent it. I'd like to see the data for 21, which is probably not out yet. Maybe.
Maybe not.
But yeah.
The only ones that were down for this were like crashes involving large commercial or non-commercial trucks. So think like commerce slowed down because everything was locked down, so you just had probably fewer large trucks on the road. But people
fatalities
that went out
among
to drive,
older persons are declined as well because they were driving less.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay. Not shocking. Thank you, whoever your name was, patron, for sharing that.
Dave
Kenwood.
Shout out Dave Kenwood.
We'll get back to Patreon. Patriot Questions. Patriot Questions. The fucking frogs are turning gay. America.
The only question.
Patriot Questions.
Who do you think's going to control your car once the globalists get a hold of it?
We need to redefine the term insurrection. Am I right? This was just really a book club meeting.
It's really a gathering.
It's a gathering of.
We've all been to a barbecue that went wrong.
Yeah. Zach and I have a company. It's a small company that does some of our social media because Zach and I are all on the road. We're doing things. We can't always do our posts and stuff with the kind of regularity that we want to from the road. So we hired a company to do it. It's been 6 months. And so they delivered us a report, what works, what doesn't work, what we should do in the future. And I wanted to, when we had the call going through the report, I got very depressed.
You did.
Because as we have learned in the past with the YouTuber face and the thumbnails and stuff like that, the things that I like using social media for and feel good about using social media for are not what you people want. They're not what you people engage with. And if you're out there about to listen to this and you go, Matt's not talking about me, fine. I'm not trying to we're all stupid monkeys. We're all programmable. We're all susceptible to trends and to the strategies that make things work on social media. And if you think it doesn't apply to you, chances are you're wrong, but it's okay. You don't need to write me a note saying that it doesn't apply to you because we're talking about tens or hundreds of thousands of people aggregated. We're not talking about how one person feels about it or even 50 or 100 people. If I got 100 emails saying, no, don't do that, it's not me. It's like, well, this got 518,000 views. 100 is a rounding error. It's like even if all of them speak up, and that's why you should never read the comments and should always pay attention to the data. So some of the takeaways from our the clips with the most reach on Instagram from the podcast. Is it safe to buy a GT3 RS? How fast is a Porsche 911 Turbo S really? comparing the Turbo S, other things, calling out the wealthy YouTubers out there, shitting on the Omega Swatch collab, the Moon Swatch, and asking questions. Is Elon Musk really a genius or just a good marketer?
And these are all video clips.
These were video clips, right. So the takeaways are that almost all drivers of new traffic are reels from the podcast, as opposed to teasers for car review videos. Porsche keywords in the thumbnails work exceptionally well, as do financial advice, giving financial advice about investing in cars or talking about rich people and money.
Should rich people invest in a new Ford Lightning? I'm going to make that center card today.
Well, the golden combination, according to our study of our social media, is the intersection of financial advice and the word Porsche. People come to us to learn if they should invest in a Porsche. That is the number one reason that people engage with our content.
Is it time to invest in a 911 that you can tow with a Ford Lightning? Okay.
Right. In terms of Instagram engagement, still post interactions are down 38%. No, Instagram has stopped feeding people still images. They're trying to be TikTok.
100%, yes.
If you click on someone's profile, you may notice on Instagram, if you see a post and you go, oh, let me check out that person's profile, and you click, it takes you to their reels. It doesn't even take you to their static feed anymore. So, and no one's looking at stories. Still post interactions down 38%. This is in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Story interactions down 24%. Reel interactions up 90%. And video interactions are up 48%. So podcast reel clips are the driver of overall engagement. Engagement with photos is steadily decreasing with the exception of the YouTuber face. If you're going to do a still photo, got to make the YouTuber face. Interestingly, podcast clips are generating new traffic to the podcast, but Instagram not really bringing any traffic to the YouTube channel. In fact, almost all of our new followers don't even see us as car reviewers. They see us as podcasters. A lot of people don't even know that we review cars. They only know us from the podcast. Almost all of our new followers are learning who I am and who you are from this podcast. Let's see, in terms of TikTok, we go follow us on TikTok. We've never promoted it, but we have a TikTok channel
at Smoking
posting
Tire.
A lot of podcast clips, and we've just agreed based on this data to increase podcast clips on TikTok. Highest performing TikTok post, did Audi get it wrong? That's where Audi was not entirely forthcoming about how their all-wheel drive system worked in the RS3. Calling people out is the biggest performer on TikTok. So controversial call-outs is what drives the content on the TikTok. And podcasting thumbnails, things that we learned about making thumbnails for the podcast. Do not include the podcast guest in the thumbnail, proving what Spike said to us several years ago about people come to this podcast for us and not necessarily for the guest, which is an interesting takeaway. Podcasts in the studio perform better than the ones in the outside in remote shows, which is an unfortunate truth, sad but true. We learned that at Pikes Peak. The Pikes Peak shows were very fun. I'm glad we got to go to Pikes Peak. Ultimately, not a winning formula, though.
I wonder if that has something to do with the center card, where like someone whose eyes are used to browsing their
Yep.
stuff, and they see the studio, but now they see two dudes standing on a mountain in front of a frunk or something,
Yeah.
and they just don't recognize it's us.
Yeah, winning center card, me in front of that logo. That's actually the next bullet point. I got to sit on this side in front of that logo always. Keywords associated with money outperform all other clips. The words buy, wealthy, heavy hitters, $100,000 plus, and purchase. Those are the highest performing keywords associated with podcast thumbnails. Yellow text performs better than white for closed captioning and overlays. And that's it. There's some other stuff, but those are the big takeaways. And so I just, you know, I don't really like calling people out or and I feel very uncomfortable about giving financial advice. I always try to hedge that with, to do your own due diligence and be careful investing all your money into stuff. And it sucks that is the content that is engaged with the most, and that there's such a formula for getting people to engage with it. It's, I was talking about it on Twitter this morning with some folks that were complaining about, like, I think it started with the Late Break Show guys were bitching about all caps and exclamation points.
Johnny Smith.
Oh, that was another one.
That was
another one, to use more exclamation points. Exclamation points drives more engagement.
In the link in bio thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But Tavares had a really good response to that. Was just like, oh fuck, I'm gonna.
No,
pull it up.
it's not. It's not even. It's not the content creator's fault. It's not even necessarily the software platform creator's fault. It's our dumb monkey brains.
Right.
Like, this is just data saying what people engage with the most. And like, no one's like forcing anyone to engage with one thing versus another. Now, granted, if the software knows people engage with certain things more, they're going to feed them more of what they engage with. But it starts with people engaging it. So,
but I mean, this isn't new. Like, the news has been doing this for 20 years. Like, they kind of figured it out in the early 2000s. Like, the 24-hour news cycle, drama pulls people in. You can keep them there, whether it's controversy or, the tabloids work on controversy.
Right.
The news can work on fear or controversy.
Tabloid covers probably had their thumbnail and text overlay game is tight.
Yeah.
We should have been looking to the Inquirer like a decade ago.
Yellow text. That's probably why they use it, and we are not the only people that use yellow text in our center cards.
Yeah. But it's like we as humans, it's disappointing to me, because it's almost like the more that stuff like this matters, the less the content inside matters.
Very true.
And for those of you who follow us very carefully on Instagram, you may have noticed that there was a clip that the team posted over the weekend, or maybe it was Friday. I don't remember if it was Friday over the weekend, but they had clipped something that was cut from a bigger conversation, and I had them. Well, Zach had them take it down, but I requested that they get a better clip from the same conversation that might have been a little less controversial, but that better explained what I was actually saying within the context of the conversation. We were having a conversation about people going faster during the pandemic when the roads were empty, and then now that the roads are full again, but they got that taste of speeding, now they're driving aggressively and angry because they can't speed anymore. And if you cut in a certain place, it made it sound like I was just sort of endorsing people with very powerful cars to be able to drive 100 miles an hour all the way. But seen in a bigger context, it was more in the spirit of what I was actually saying. But cut the original way, it was more controversial sounding and therefore more engaging. And if you hire people to drive engagement, they're going to do what the formula says. So I had to sort of say to these guys, like, look, I understand why you cut this like this. I appreciate what you're doing, but I'd really like the clips. If we have to give up some of that controversial engagement at the expense of, ultimate numbers, but in order to make it a little more accurate to what was actually said.
Yeah, because that's what will help us sleep at night.
Right.
Because that's what will be there, online forever, in theory, and we want to make sure that we can stand behind everything that was posted. And if you take the context out of something, as we all know from whatever news organizations or something. Like, you can take something out of context, you lose the meaning of what's actually being said.
Even if the context is easily discoverable.
Of course.
Even if it was like, no, just listen to the whole podcast and you'll see what I was talking about. It was not this like malicious thought where I'm encouraging people who have six-figure, sports cars to just drive 100 miles an hour everywhere. That's not what I was saying. But by the time you even get to that, you're so far behind the ball.
Yeah, and it started from us wondering if these new speed limiter laws in UK and Europe that are proposed are coming from a place of, are there more accidents happening at high speeds?
Right.
Or are they trying to crack down on people speeding in 35 mile per hour zones? Or is it just like a farce and kind of a straw man in an attempt to like get some sort of traffic safety through, but it's really just putting these, restrictive laws on the cars. Like,
right.
So that's what we're curious about.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the social media report. That's how you guys all behave when presented with our content. So if you don't like what that sounded like, engage with my cat posts more.
I mean, I bet people could look at their own viewing behavior on YouTube. I could do it easily and just go, what am I clicking on more? Look back at your history and see, like, are you clicking on things that have a certain center card versus another thing, even if it's the subject matter is the same? Or like, where do your eyes go first when you go to your home YouTube page, even if you don't click on where you're drawn first because you go, wait, I don't want to watch that channel, but like you're looking at it. Yeah. So the psychology works.
Yeah, definitely. It's weird that it works, and it's we've talked about the perils of on-demand content feeding you what the algorithm thinks you want to see based on your engagement. It's not the way to like get smarter. It's not the way to appreciate the nuance in anything. But, we get this sort of serotonin kind of endorphin thing going based on how certain titles and center cards are written, and then we engage with that content. We also engage with negative content. We engage with people calling out other people. We engage with, it's like when we say something very nice about a car, it's, oh, you're being paid off. And if you say something negative about a car, it's, oh, you're finally being honest. And it's like, actually, you viewer are falling victim to the way the brainwaves process this information.
But it's wired in us so deeply.
Yeah.
Like we, fear is is our strongest response system. Anger is very strong, like more than lust, more than sex, and couple that with like our brain being trained to see like shiny fruits and foods, and that's like where this shit all comes from. The wiring is very deep in there.
Yeah.
But there's just a way to use it to, market your YouTube video, which is very weird.
Right. All right, let's go to the Patreon page. Of course, patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. Get in this game if you would please. You can have our podcast advertising free. You can listen to live shows. You don't have to wait until Tuesday, Thursday. You get the show the day it's recorded. All kinds of benefits to being a patron. Ted Theo Logan says, thinks that I mentioned recently that SC 911s don't require the top-end rebuild like the Carreras. Did I hear that correctly? Unfortunately, Ted Theodore Logan, you did not hear that correctly. They all require the top-end rebuild. What they don't require is Carreras have bad valve guides that break down, and they get blow by and they get real smoky. So if you're servicing an SC properly, it does need the top end rebuild, but it's not as expensive of a top end rebuild as the Carrera because you probably won't have to replace all the valve guides. That's a thing with all the Carreras. So fortunately, cheaper to maintain an SC than a Carrera, especially the first time. The valve guides are a one-time thing. So you still have to do the top-end rebuild every 100K, but the first one, the one at 100K, will be the most expensive because you have to replace these parts with better parts, and those parts, the second time, those parts should not have failed. Daniel Berman, what is the most overt attempt at corporate bribery you've seen an OEM display at a press event?
I heard a funny one recently that was The trip to that battery maker in Vietnam, I can't remember the name of the company, but a lot
VinFast.
VinFast. So like we got invites. A lot of our friends and people in this game like went, and I was talking to a journalist who I will let remain nameless just in case they don't want this out there. But they did the math on what that trip would cost to like recreate, and it was actually only a few $100s.
Oh, really?
So because it's so cheap to do things there.
Yeah, yeah.
So it looked like and they got like everyone who went, I think, had a pretty good time, but it wasn't a super high dollar, tens of thousands of dollar kind of trip.
Right.
And they went, well, I don't know if I want to go, basically be paid a few $100s to spend a week looking at this battery company.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a funny one. It was the flip side where like normally you go, well, you're going to get flown to the Arctic on your private jet and landed and go drifting AMGs. And this was like, actually you could do this yourself without having to do the advertising for them.
I mean, Zach and I were flown to Steamboat Springs and put up in a nice hotel and all that to fundamentally drive a crossover on all-season tires and snow. Tire stuff is some of the least exciting and engaging content out there. Now, it's important, and if you're grassroots motorsports doing a tire test or something like that, there's certainly room for tire media, but it's not exactly exciting. So that was quite a lot of money and time spent to talk about an all-season tire in snow. But like by far the most egregious was when the Saudi government offered me $50,000 to go to the Saudi SEMA, and I said no. Other people definitely went and took their fucking money. I didn't want to reputation wash the Saudi government and do that. I realize other people who've sponsored our content don't always have perfectly clean hands, but like. And I can't be responsible for like everybody doing it. But this was like peak Khashoggi, right? This was like straight, like
the saw was still plugged in.
Yeah, this was peak fucking Khashoggi shit. And they're like, come to our progressive country and talk about cars. Like, yeah, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. And they were just straight offering cash. And other I mean, if you see a manufacturer that has a press launch, and that press launch is awfully full of influencers as opposed to journalists, they're being paid. I mean, influencers literally go on the same press launches that us journalists go on, except in their goodie bag, where for us there'll be a fucking hat and a name tag. Yeah. There'll be a check in that bitch.
I think it depends on the influencer, but I think it ranges from they're just simply brought on the trip and they're excited to be on the trip, kind of like an early journalist.
I have confirmation that they are paid sometimes.
No, I know. I was going to say there's a range.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I was going.
Yeah. There's definitely money that it changes.
Absolutely.
For sure. That's the most overt is cash. That's the most overt thing I've seen. Miguel Flores, favorite compliance cars or most hated? Compliance cars are cars like the Aston Martin Signet, where you had to build something in order to they did it to get around emissions, I think. I mean,
to change their average, I think.
Yeah, the corporate fuel economy average, so they could continue building a naturally aspirated V12 for a couple more years.
Right.
I mean, how many compliance cars are there? It's not like that's the only one I know of.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to make it like cars that are strictly designed to change the average, but the large OEMs, they don't have that as much because they know like when Dodge builds an EV, it's not just to offset Hellcat emissions. It's because they need to grab the EV market.
Well, I think the way it works is the parent company. So they had Fiat. And Fiat with the 500 and the 500, well, the 500e, but also just the regular 500. I think that offset a bunch. Plus, they were buying credits from Tesla. I mean, other than the Signet, I literally can't think of a single other compliance. There might be more in Europe. Mercedes has like the tiny like the B class or whatever it is, the tiny little. I don't really know. I mean, the Signet is...
So Wikipedia has a few, but none of them are actually that interesting. It's like the Chevy Spark 500e, Ford Focus Electric, Honda Fit EV. These are all, big manufacturers.
The Fit EV is like a pretty nice little car, I think.
Probably. I mean, I like the regular Fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I think the Signet wins because it's like everything else they build.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like a yacht. It's like a tender for a yacht.
It's like a boogie board for a yacht. I mean, it's a tiny 2-seat front-wheel drive thing when it is nothing like the rest of their cars.
Yeah, it's very silly.
Nothing.
Dustin Bateman wants a recommendation. If you could recommend one car factory for someone to tour, what would it be? Is there a factory you want to tour but haven't yet? I've never been to Ferrari. You went to Ferrari.
I did.
Was it awesome?
It's pretty good.
Yeah?
It's pretty good. I mean, the new factory is so high tech. There's like a rainforest in the middle of it to keep the humidity right and the temp right. I mean, it's so cool to see that. And then if they give you access to it, to like their F1 storage area, that's insane because it's just all these championship winning cars parked next to each other. And then you can go to the Ferrari Museum, which is like down the street. So you get to see like where it started, because you can see Enzo's old house. So you see where it started, how it's built now, and then all of their history in the museum. So that's a pretty good one to see in close proximity. The
wildest one I ever went to was Morgan.
You're right.
At Malvern in the UK, because it's like there's nothing like that. It's just it's a wood shop. It's fucking crazy.
I really want to go to Pagani.
Oh, that
seems like
a good one. Yeah,
something where that's just hand built. I mean, that is so special.
Koenigsegg is very interesting in terms of, well, they're building that giant new one, but the original Koenigsegg factory is really small, and they can only, I think they build 4 or 5 cars at a time, and that's really it. And how few people there were actually there working on the cars, and it was a very small team, and so to be in this little town and see this like little kind of unassuming place, but with a runway out back, is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But Morgan was just the weirdest. I mean, it was just, it's unlike any other factory because it's like, it's 100 years old.
Right, it's gravity powered. It's kind of like, Morgan's a way to look at how cars were built 80 years ago. And then Ferrari is a little bit of like, kind of pretty modern. I mean, the assembly line is very modern.
And then McLaren
like
is
Corvette, same thing.
Yeah, the Corvette is like, that's an old school looking factory. I think they retooled it for C8, but that factory looks old as fuck.
I mean, it had old bones for sure.
Yeah.
And then, they're assembling brand new cars, which is an interesting thing to see. Like, this is how, what I liked about the factory tour, the Ferrari one and the Corvette one, is you're seeing how the thing is made, because all we usually are exposed to is the finished product and how fast it is and how exciting it is, and it looks really shiny. But like, no, this is built by people with steel and, big old ass pulleys and things. It's cool.
Yeah. C. Brooks is going to Miami and wants to rent a car from Turo and wants a recommendation. Options include a 2020 STI, a Mini Cooper S with a stick, a 2022 Miata, 2014 Boxster S PDK, 2012 M3 convertible stick, or a 2021 Kia Forte GT stick. Like Miami's like, there aren't, I mean, he uses the words back roads in the intro. There really aren't a lot of back roads in Miami. I'm not really sure what back roads he's talking about here. I mean, I'd probably say
I would go Boxster PDK. He said he wants to learn rear-wheel drive, which I don't really know what you...
I mean, I'm
not trying to like make fun of you. I don't know what that means. Like, are you trying to just feel the difference between all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive? Are you trying to like learn the dynamics? Because unless you're on a track or something like...
Yeah, like where are you going to be like breaking traction in your Turo car?
Right. Like, you'll be able to feel where the thrust is coming from. It will feel different than all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. I recommend the Boxster because there is traffic in Miami and you might get stuck in it, and you have PDK, which you will love. And it's like, put the top down and it sounds good and it's quick enough and all that stuff. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I'd probably just get the Porsche. I mean, it's gonna have the trunk space, but also it's going to be a convertible. It's also like a pretty nice feeling car, assuming it's not like totally beat.
Right. The M3 is very expensive. It's a stick, and if you don't know much about driving a rear-wheel drive car, I worry that you will try to explore that education in that car and wrap it around something.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah, I'd probably just get the Porsche. It's Alex. Hey, what response have you heard to the fish mouth air duct criticism for the Corvette? I've never even heard that criticism.
You mean the C8 or the C7?
I'm assuming they mean he means the C8. I don't know. We'll move on from that. I don't.
Okay. I mean,
I've not heard that fish mouth air duct criticism. Which I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
It just looks like a.
I don't see it.
They need it to cool things off. That's what I
probably does the thing. Bud. 215 wants to complain that Cadillac does not sell the CT4 V series, the 4-cylinder one, not the Blackwing, with a manual transmission. I drove the CT4 V series non-Blackwing, didn't like it at all. Thought it was terrible.
That's the all-wheel drive one?
That was a CT5 V series.
Oh.
The 4 series was rear-wheel drive, but I didn't like it at all. I mean, it would probably be nice if they sold that, but I can't explain the business case for it.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. Shucky Ducky Quack Quack. Do any newer affordable electric power steering cars have actual good steering feel? Good steering feel is relative. It's just like it's dog. She says dog shit compared to a good hydraulic rack. Where is the like?
Well, it's which hydraulic rack?
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree. Like, what is your definition of good? Like, my definition of good is, can I sense what the front wheels are doing under load?
Yeah.
And is the weight of the steering the right amount? It's not too heavy. It's not too light. It feels correct for the amount of load being put onto the tire. So I would say like the Civic Type R, relatively affordable car. You know, in the 40s, get a used one, maybe a little bit less. And that, I think, has pretty damn good steering feel for anything that costs less than $90,000 with an electronic system.
Yeah. I mean, affordable. What is an affordable car with really good
Miata
steering?
Is okay.
I think that's pretty good.
I didn't love the new one that much. I didn't think it
Doesn't the 86 have electric power steering?
I think the 86.
I feel like the 86 has electric
the
power.
New one.
The new current 86 has electric power steering, and that has very good feel, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, the 86.
Yes, that's the most affordable. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the best and most affordable.
Yeah, the answer is 86.
There's your Venn diagram.
I think so. Sean Finney says, how would you spend $80K across a 2-car garage? One sports car. Yeah, I would have some kind of crossover. I'd probably have like a used, SUV or truck for utilitarian things, and then like a nice newish sports car, if I could.
Something that lets you experience the most of the world.
Yeah,
so that's why the 2-car solution is a good one.
Spread.
Yeah,
like a Grand Cherokee and a used Boxster, something like that, maybe, right?
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, I'd want to cover my two occasions, right? Like I'd want a fun weekend car, and then I'd want something that I could use, a fun weekend car that could be driven daily without it being annoying.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't want like a car with like an aerial Atom or something. Like Boxster's good because you could just use it as a car. You're not giving anything up. And then you'd want something that's a little more trucky, that could handle bad weather, that could maybe tow, maybe haul some stuff, maybe do a little off-roading, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Micah Moore has been trying to order a Camaro ZL1 1LE. They still make those for over a year, but got rolled into a 23 order. If that doesn't work out, do you have recommendations for $70,000 to $95,000 for a fun manual car? No, without a 4-cylinder. Yeah, Boxster. I mean, not a 4-cylinder. I mean,
do they still make the M2 with a manual?
yes. Yeah,
I mean, that's a good
M2.
one.
M2 would be good for sure.
Boxer's a good one. Cayman's a good one.
Yeah, I mean,
same car, but
yeah. I don't know if you're getting into a GTS, which is a 6-cylinder for 90, maybe slightly used for a GTS for 6-cylinder.
You can, because I think 95 is where they started with the 25 year.
Yeah, maybe.
So I think you could just get into a GTS.
You're on the edge of Boxster or Cayman GTS is very, very nice.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, they're awesome. I'd probably start with that. M2 is a good choice, though, as well. I mean, your options are very limited.
Yeah.
High-end manual sports cars, there's like 3.
Yeah.
There's just not, the options just are not there.
What did Jaguar put the manual in now? Or is it gone in the F-Type?
Oh, there's no manual. Yeah, they made 2017, 18, they made it for a year, V6S. You can get a manual, but like, there's so few. I mean, that's like C7 Corvette Z06 money.
There's regular M3, non-comp.
Yeah.
That you could do that, or M4.
Yeah.
I'd go M3.
It's not a great manual, but...
It is not. It is not. It has one. I think at this point in time, in the world we live in, it's like, do you want a manual? What's your price point? And then maybe you get to choose if it's a good one, unfortunately.
Yeah. Or you go older. I mean, you can... If it's
Mustang,
not brand
Mach 1. Mustang Mach 1.
Oh, yeah.
Which is actually
Mustang
less
Mach
than your
1.
budget.
Yeah, it's 65 grand.
That manual's way better than the M3s.
It's got the Tremec.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one there. Mustang Mach 1. Yeah, that works. Christopher Goebel, thoughts on LA thinking about banning the construction of new gas stations? I'm totally okay with that. We got plenty of gas stations.
So many.
We have so many gas stations. We do not need more gas stations. Like, that's fine. Ban new gas stations. Like, they're not getting rid of existing ones necessarily, but if there's a gas station in Los Angeles that can't make it financially, fine, go away. Like, but like, I think there's enough.
I mean, as far as where I drive, there are many.
Yeah.
Maybe there are gas station deserts, like there are grocery deserts. I don't know.
There might
but I have
be.
always seen lots of gas. Like, it's...
My commute is 4 miles and change from my house to here, and I pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I pass 5 gas stations between my house and here. We don't need more. Where is the gas station desert? Where is anyone considering building a new gas station?
I mean, that's another good question. Where's there space for it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think that's a problem. I think, yeah, they could ban new gas stations. That's fine. Jack Riley, where do we see... I feel like we've answered this question recently. Where do we see automotive journalism and press jobs going in the next 20 years? Will the consistent decrease in our attention spans continue to push press into shorter form media? I think yes. I mean, there's people that I have like basically never heard of before, that are not like employed by any major media outlets or whatever, that have like 4 million followers on TikTok doing press short form content with press cars. And it seems like they're doing a good job at that. It seems like their audiences are happy with whatever it is that they're doing. And like, yeah, it just evolves. I mean, it'll just evolve like anything else. I mean, the internet killed print media, didn't it? And a lot of the same people evolved, and some of them didn't and retired and whatever.
I do think we'll see an evolution, and I don't think it will keep getting shorter, because TikTok has now expanded the maximum length of a video to like 10 minutes. So everything was... It's like, TikTok was really popular for 15-second videos for a while, but the audience wanted either more stuff or people wanted to make longer things, so they adjusted that. So now you can get longer form content. So I don't think we're in this race where everything's going to continually get shorter down to like 3-second things. I think it's just the style of the content is definitely evolving. Like some of the car TikTok stuff is not a review. It is a 100% basically dealer presentation.
Yeah.
Spoken at 2x basically.
Sure.
So I feel like the question is not so much will the length of the media change, but like, are we going to lose objectivity as more and more influencer people just kind of take up the space?
Yeah, I mean, like we said a few minutes ago, if a manufacturer is choosing to give a press loan vehicle to someone who's really trying to be objective and critical of the car versus someone that either you're paying or that you know will just say kind of what you want them to say, they have that choice,
right?
And they're gonna lean that way. They've already started to. You know, press launches used to be pretty much all journalists, and now they're half journalist, half influencer. Eventually, they might be all influencers. You know, and that's worse for the consumer. But what are you gonna do?
Right.
Elon Musk is suspicious 43. Have we noticed any dip in collectible car pricing so far in this recessionary climate? I think so, yes. I mean, I don't watch every auction and every you know, I don't spend all of my time going through collector car listings, but Doug on Twitter, who owns an auction site, has said that he had a lot of people you know, shoot the moon on their reserve price on cars and bids over the last few months, not realizing that that was like last year's prices and that things are down. And now they want to come back. They didn't make reserve. They set their reserve too high. And now they want to come back in the market with last year's reserve again. You know, they thought they could sell it somewhere else. They blamed cars and bids. They blamed whatever, but they just wanted too much money. And so when we prepare clients here at Westside Collector Car Storage, we help them sell their cars on auction sites. We encourage them to sell the car at no reserve. Just if you want the car gone, we will do everything we can to present the car accurately, to promote it to everyone we can promote it to get the most eyeballs possible on it, and ultimately it will bring market price. And that market price may not be what you think it is, but if you get this thing in front of enough people, it's going to be what the market is for the car.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing, because interest rates have gone up, so they're starting to see an increase in repossessions of people's car loans, and it's actually happening kind of across the price board, you know, from a $20,000 loan to a $90,000 loan.
Oh, you're telling me people were living above their means?
Right.
No way.
Because it's 0% interest, right?
Yeah.
But now the interest rates have fluctuated. So people were also financing collector cars for the last 2 years. A lot. And so if those interest rates have now risen, then the prices are going to come down. The prices of everything are going to come down.
Yeah, and the watch market as well. I mean, a lot of the fucking crazy watch prices where Rolexes and APs and Pateks are 3 or 4 times X MSRP was driven by crypto money, basically free money. You know, some people who got in early and saw their fucking gains 1,000x or whatever it was, were just blowing cash on shit. And it felt like free money to them, so they didn't give a fuck, you know, and so they were just spending it and they didn't care what anything cost. Same thing with, you know, very expensive cars, driven by crypto gains. And now that a lot of those gains have evaporated, people are selling off their shit. Or not willing to pay a massive premium for that type of stuff.
I mean, we're seeing asset values drop across the board. S&P 500, everything is down real significantly.
Yeah.
So that's going to cool prices on luxury goods and fun things like collector cars.
Yep. Norse Force, what are our thoughts on synthetic fuels? I think synthetic fuels are very interesting. And if we could find a way to keep our existing gas station infrastructure, our existing internal combustion engines that we've spent 100 years evolving to be relatively efficient in the best case scenarios, if we can stop climate change or drastically improve the negative effects of the combustion engine on climate change, and if we can have a renewable resource that doesn't have terrible side effects, like, great. You know, a clean burning combustion engine in the overall life cycle of the vehicle is probably cleaner than a giant 130 kilowatt battery pack, even if there's tailpipe emissions. So if synthetic fuels eliminate tailpipe emissions in the way that we're used to and allow us to build the car in a cleaner way than mining all these rare earth metals, great.
And if the creation of those synthetic fuels is also a clean process, because that's the big thing is to get energy, you have to put in energy. So
of course.
If the energy process is also clean, then like that would definitely be the golden goose.
Right, and there are obviously like specific things, but that I don't know everything about. I'd like to talk to someone more about it, but the general concept of it is like, yeah, worth researching for sure. Yeah. Anthony Loiacano, word on the Cadillac Lyriq review. Haven't booked one. Are there press cars yet?
They had the launch, so I imagine they'll be in the fleet soon. But man, they are pretty. I think it's a very good looking car.
Wesley wants to know what we think about ceramic coating. We use Ammo Reflex. It's far less toxic than your typical ceramic coating application, and it comes off after about 2 years, as opposed to there's not really a lot of science on what to do after the 10 years of your ceramic coating are up. I know people are into it. I'm not that into it myself, but I like the Ammo Reflex. Larry's done a lot of research on that.
Yes.
Okay, this is a tough one. Nathan Bouvain. On May 31st, I purchased a new Acura Integra. Dealership said they're experiencing issues registering the vehicle, so they asked me to take the car home with a dealer plate with a couple weeks, take the car home with a dealer plate, bring it back in a few days to finish the paperwork. When I brought the car back, they said they cannot sell that car to me because it was a dealer car and you should wait 2 weeks for the replacement. It's been over a month now. What should I do? That sounds like fuckery, right? Like,
I guess, I don't know, call the BBB.
Like, yeah, I mean, like they sold you they took your money for a car that's like not yours. Like,
I mean, did they fuck up? Because I don't know how this works, but my only thought is, did they fuck up and try and sell you a car that they actually are not allowed to sell you because it was registered? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, was it something where a salesman went, I am very sorry, I have totally fucked this up. Like, we're not allowed to sell this car. You know, if you return it and you go back in 2 weeks and it's not there, then you have big questions. Like,
yeah, like, and has he paid? Like, I mean, I
don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I need to speak to I would go in there and demand to speak to the general manager and get a very detailed explanation of what went wrong, why were you allowed to take home. By the way, now that I'm a dealer, I know this. It is not legal for you to buy a car and then drive it home on dealer tags. A dealer tag can only be used for an up to 48 hours customer test drive. So like, if you agreed to the dealer to test drive a car for 2 days, they could put a dealer plate on it and you could drive it. But if they sell you a car, it can't be going home with you on a dealer tag. Like, that's very, very strange. This is in California. I don't know what state this is in, but I mean, I would literally physically sit in that dealer.
And if you gave them money, and
yeah,
if you signed, you know, the contract for all that stuff, like, yeah, talk to the GM.
Yeah, I would be.
Let us know what happened.
I'd be up in their business, but there's information that is not in this note. I mean, it sounds like someone tried to sell you a dealer demo car, like expecting a car to show up that they could actually sell you that was like identical.
Yeah, maybe.
But then it didn't. But it seems like fuckery. I don't understand that. It seems like fuckery. But somebody fucked up. Tim, what are your favorite slow cars to drive fast? Fiesta ST.
Yeah.
Doesn't get a lot better than that.
Something with the turbo is a good time.
Yeah.
Miata.
Yeah. kind of over driving slow cars fast. I get to drive fast cars fast now. Angbar, what car would you drive to Radwood for under $20K? My wife's Nissan Pao is about as cool as it gets. We get a lot of compliments on that fucker.
Can you get a Nissan, what is it, the GTST, the 4-door one? Can you get those for under 20? Probably.
Which one?
The 4-door GTR. Remember the sedans we saw, the rear-wheel drive ones?
The sedans the GTST sedans have never been, I mean, they're desirable, but they don't have the crazy GTRs do.
I think I'd take that.
They're pretty cool. They're nice little cars. Adrian Pulido wants to talk about auto loan payments. The average payment is $700 now. Well, I'm not surprised. People want new cars, but can't really afford them, and focus on monthly payments instead of their overall, the overall cost of the car.
Yeah.
They don't do both sides of the math. Oh wow, those interest rates. Oh, that's not interest rates. Sorry, that chart says portion of auto financing accounts that have been 30 or more days past due by state. So the northern part of the country really is all right with their auto payments, except for New York.
Yeah, there's like the whole north, ranging from east to west, basically, is like average about 5% have been over 30 days. But down in Texas is 10%, Louisiana is almost 13%, Alabama's 15%.
Yeah, Mississippi is extremely fucked. Mississippi's 15%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it even says down in that bottom paragraph, one factor could be a state's poverty level. Some of the states shown so have the highest rates of delinquency. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, and the Carolinas all have poverty levels above the national average. I mean, we want new things, and we can't always afford them.
Yeah.
And people, whether it's scammy dealer behaviors, where it's
predatory lending, right?
Yeah, predatory lending, or we finance anybody, buy here, pay here. People want new.
And even
new
if
cars.
it's not that, like, that is a huge problem. But even if it's just normal dealership, whatever, our culture is really excited to get a new thing, and we've had people in the comments talk about they work at dealerships, and people are coming in with a 2-year-old truck. I remember this comment. Someone brought in a 2-year-old like Ram 2500. They wanted to roll it into a brand new 2022 Ram whatever, and they still owed like $73,000 on the existing truck, and the truck they wanted was like $92,000, and it's just like, your truck's 2 years old, and so the only argument for it that I saw was someone saying maybe it's for a business, it's a write-off, et cetera, et cetera. But if it's not, then you're just rolling more debt into this new loan, which has been kind of an ongoing thing for the last, decade or so. And it's putting people in a hole that I don't think they're totally aware of.
It's almost like 2008 didn't happen. We don't remember. We don't remember anything ever about how our country works. We are really bad at remembering this exact fucking thing.
Our memory, much like a stock graph, goes up and then goes back down, and then goes back up and goes back down.
Yeah. Well, that's our show. Thank you for listening. We actually, tomorrow, we have a Senna for 24 hours, which we're probably the last people to not drive the Senna. But McLaren was kind enough to say, hey, did you ever get to have a go in the Senna? And I was like, no. And they're like, we will make sure that happens. So it's like a 2019 model year press car.
Okay.
Something. I don't care. But
we'll take it.
We get a Senna for a day, so that's fun. And we're driving the BMW 230, which is actually quite nice. I've had it for 4 days, and I really actually enjoyed it. It's lively and feels light on its feet, and it's actually quite a compelling little car. But I still can't figure out how to turn it off.
What do you mean?
You turn it off, and then everything fucking stays on. You have to lock the doors.
You hit lock, yeah.
Yeah, well, if it's parked in your own garage.
Can you go into user settings and change the things so that
I haven't tried to do that yet. But in my own garage, if I don't lock it, my fucking CarPlay stays connected to it. I'm up in the kitchen, And I'm like, why is the Wi-Fi not on my house? And I go to turn the Wi-Fi and it says disconnect CarPlay. And it's like, I walked away from the car 10 minutes ago. What are we doing?
Especially when it's like you're 30 plus feet away for a long time. It should have some sort of timeout feature.
Yeah.
I don't know if it does.
Like garages are like in homes. Like
Right.
you park in the garage. It's like you're not far away after that. Yeah. I don't know. Well, maybe I'll play with the setting before we film it. Hopefully we sort that out. Please go to our YouTube channel and watch our videos, especially if there's a clip of this saying to do that. And we'll see you later this week after we have 24 hours with a McLaren Senna. And we have guests and stuff booked for the next few weeks. There's been a bunch of shows with just Zach and I, but we do have some guests coming. It was...
Sorry.
What happened there? It was our. We had a busy month and didn't get to schedule a lot of guests, but we're getting back.
We got
in
a
the game.
list. We got a lot of people coming in.
Yeah, we do. But that's our show for today. We'll see you later. Bye.